We'll call meeting to order. Eric, can you do roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. District 1, Councilman Rios.
Present.
District 2, Councilman Pastor.
Here.
District 3, Councilman Leatham, as expected on Zoom. District 4, Vice Mayor Stapleton.
Here.
District 5, Councilman Gonzalez.
Here.
And District 6, Councilman Shipley.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
You have to call the mayor's name.
Oh, Mayor Gamera, sorry. Here.
Thank you, Eric. Chief, can you lead us in the invocation, please?
That's it. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful at this time for those individuals represented here who serve in the community and who are here to participate in the process of our local government. We're grateful for the blessings that we have, for the freedoms that we enjoy. We ask thy blessings on those who mourn at this time. Please comfort them in their grief. We ask thy blessings on those who are in need of healing, that they may receive the blessings that they're in need of. Please watch over each of those individuals represented here this evening and bless these proceedings. We pray, amen.
Amen.
Mike, please, in the pledge.
Sure, thank you. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with a summary of current events, and Mike, we'll start with you down there.
Mr. Mayor, I really don't have a whole lot. I would remind everybody to, if you get an opportunity to pick up one of the library schedules for the month, there's a lot of activities that Ray L. does down there, and the kids get a lot of joy out of doing that. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mike. Mike?
I'm ready, Jesse.
Oh, is Jesse online?
We do not yet.
Not yet, okay. Go
Sure, I'll
ahead.
do it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank you actually for giving me the honor. The last First Friday, I was honored to do the Colonel Larry Farino. I read the resolution and then actually handed him the key to the city. So that was quite an honor. So thank you for your absence. That was one of the many fun things with this job. That was really cool. So it was a really great honor to do that. So thank you, Mayor.
Great, thank
That's
you,
all
Mike.
I have.
Thank you, Mike. Mariano?
Just a general public safety message. We've still got a lot of fires to worry about. Monsoons have kicked in and starting more fires. So be careful in the creeks and washes as well. And just pay attention to your surroundings. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Mariano. Fernando?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to take a personal privilege and my godson, Ben Vigil, who's sitting back here in the back, he is visiting us from Washington State. He lives in the Seattle area and attends the University of Washington. And he's going to school to be an urban planner. And so he has been volunteering here at the city to get an internship like experience, work experience. And so hopefully they put him to work and make him work really hard for nothing. You know, he got a 99 percentile on his SAT, and I said, 99? How come you didn't get 100? He goes, that's the highest you can get. So he's a smart kid, and I'm real proud to call him my godson. So thank you, man.
Thank you, Fernando. Freddie?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to remind everybody, school is just right around the corner. I believe it started today in Miami, starts next week in Globe. So keep your eyes peeled for all those buses and the little kids on their way to school and all the bus stops. Fortunately for them, they get to, their summer ends and they get to go back to school. But I think us as grown-ups and citizens in the community, we need to keep an eye out for them. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Freddie. You see, we're in some lays. They gave us some lays. Really excited about the end of the year bash at our Community Aquatic Center. That'll be this Friday, starting at 11 in the morning, I think till 7 at night. And there'll be food trucks, there'll be giveaways, there'll be a DJ, entertainment. Again, we want to thank again the sponsors are City of Globe, Arizona Complete Health, and Freeport McMoran for footing the bill and putting this end of the year bash. It's not closing, it's just changing hours for school time now. I think they're still gonna be open in the evenings from 4 to 8, and then they'll be open on weekends, extended hours. And I think aerobics continues another 4 to 5 weeks still, so that's still going on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. And I hear there's a lot of people going to really enjoying it. So if you get a chance, go in and have some fun out there. We have, I want to introduce also, and they'll be talking, we have Charlene Fernandez and Jared Raymond from USDA. They'll be talking about the 504 program that's going to be open to starting tomorrow. So I'll let them talk about that. Remember, election day is the 30th, next Tuesday, primary. And then first Friday is August 2nd. And on the 27th, this Saturday, is Shelly's husband, Michael Salazar's funeral. And I think it's at 11 o'clock. It's at the Fellowship Church up here on the corner of Oak and Hill Street. So, just one last thing. I've been in constant communication with Chairman Rambler. He is very appreciative of everything that has taken place, the response that was given from our community, from not only the Globe Miami community, but from all over the state, really. And it has been amazing. Now the challenge begins now to try and come up with funding to be able to put these, the individuals, the families that lost their entire homes. That should be a priority for the future now. Everything else is taken care of. I was able to attend masses last Sunday at St. Charles Catholic Church, and their response has been amazing. You should see their warehouse. It is full of stuff in there for short term, for people that are in temporary housing right now. It's amazing. And we took some more stuff out yesterday, and really they're full. They have a bunch of stuff in there, and people are stopping by to pick that up. And they are very appreciative again from San Carlos, from the entire tribe, for the reach out from all our communities. That's all I have. Thank you. Paul?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I have no comments from myself. Thank you.
Okay, if we go to the first community call to the public, this is a time when anybody from the public wishes to address the council. It is limited to 3 minutes. At this time, we cannot respond to you, but we can direct staff to follow up on anything that we might feel needs to be followed up on. I do have one speaker card. I have Kiana Thompson. If you want to come forward and state your name.
Hi, thank you guys so much. My name is Kiana Thompson. I work with Child and Family Resources. I just wanted to come and speak to the community, let everyone know what our program is. We are with Gila County, which includes also San Carlos and Bailes that we'll be servicing. We do in-home visitation, and it's to help the families learn about how babies, like bonding with their children, milestone expectations, and it's a program that we do up to 5 years with them. And it's just to help them become better parents, help them work on themselves. It's all parent volunteers, so at any point they can also unenroll too if they find that they're doing good or however. So I just wanted to get the word out. We've been in the area for about 2 years. We work with the hospital, WIC. We're starting to get some contacts, hopefully through the courts even, because we do work with families who are also at risk as well. So I just wanted to come forward and let you guys know.
Very good, thank you. Thank you very much. Paul, if she has any flyers, if she has any flyers or information that we can forward that and pass that information along, would be great.
Okay, we can
Thank
do that.
you.
Thank you.
Anybody on line, on phone or email?
Check here. No, nobody in email. Anybody on the phone? Nope.
So we go to special presentations, but I want to ask council if we can move up one of our late agenda items, and that'll be the USDA 504 application, since we do have Charlene and Jared here to speak on that, before we start with a presentation from, on Meridian. So if you want to come up to the.
Thank you so much for having us today and for allowing us into your community. As the mayor stated, we will be having a 504 Repair Rural Development Day in Miami tomorrow and the next day. But it's for, even though it's in Miami, it's for the whole community, as you all are just one community. The 504 program is a really popular program with USDA. And a lot of people think when they hear USDA, they right away think about meat. Well, we're more than meat. We do build homes, we do self-help housing, and we do repairs for those homes, for those individuals that are eligible, usually over the age of 65. And you know, if they meet the income requirements, they can get a grant in the amount of $10,000, which does not have to be paid back. That $10,000, I know we think, oh, that's not very much, but it could mean a new roof for somebody. It could mean, you know, rehabbing a bathroom to make it more accessible for an elderly mom or dad. You know, kitchens, whatever that looks like. You can get, you know, a local contractor to do the work. You can work with USDA and use a handyman. We're very flexible, and we want this program to work in, you know, in as many homes as we can throughout Arizona, throughout this country. But seriously, in Arizona, we're ranked number 14 in the whole country with our repair program. So it's really popular and exciting. So $10,000 grant, but on top of that, you can apply for a 1% interest rate loan in the amount of $40,000 for 20 years. 1% for 20 years. You do the math, it's a really good deal. So we hear a lot of people getting the loan and the grant and doing $50,000 rehab on their homes. It has to be a rehab. You can't build a room on. You can't go get a fixer-upper. It has to be, you know, toward fixing up a home that you already own. And that's the caveat, is you have to own that home. So we have been going all over Arizona, and we call them Rural Development Days. We bring our staff out from the office, and that's also exciting for them because they really get to come out to the communities and meet our customers where they're at. This is a priority of this administration, the Biden-Harris administration. This is what they sent us out to do. They said, go and meet the customers where they're at. Don't tell them what they need. Listen and find out what they need and then go beyond that. So we're really excited about being able to come to your area. This isn't a one and done. A lot of times we come and then people find out about it after we leave, and it's like, oh, well, I guess I'm out of luck. We will be back. You know, as long as you want us back, we can come back. As long as you provide a place for us, we can come back with our staff. Our staff can come out here, you know, for a couple of hours every other week. I mean, we are so flexible. So please, when you talk to your constituents, when you talk to your neighbors, say, you know, this is a great program, and they will be back. Mayor, you talked about Chairman Rambler and San Carlos. San Carlos Nation is very close to our hearts too, as all the tribal nations are, but especially San Carlos. They're part of our Rural Partners Network. That's where Jared Raymond comes in. He's our Rural Partners Network liaison. Rural Partners Network is a pilot program right out of the White House. Now, there was only 11 states that were selected for the Rural Partners Network, and Arizona was one of them. A lot of people say, well, what's Rural Partners Network? So Jared has a direct contact with over 20 federal agencies. So when we're meeting at the San Carlos Nation and they tell us, we're having a problem with the EPA, Jared has someone that he can pick up and call and say, I need you to meet with the council, I need you to come out here, whatever that looks like. But we have a direct contact with over 20 federal agencies. Now, that may not sound like a big deal, but we've never had that before, where we have one person we can go to. And I like to say that this is going to become the norm because it's become so popular. And added into those tribal nations that we selected in Arizona that we're working with the community around there. So that's why GLOBE is so important. You were part of that Rural Partners Network family. You know, jumping back, I wrote my notes down real quick. Thank you so much for helping us out with Rural Development Days. Need to mention to you about our summer childhood meals program, the Sunbucks. You know, a lot of your families here in Globe are able to qualify as long as their kids go to a free and reduced lunch school. They will be getting Sunbucks in the mail for 3 months. And that already started, it'll go through August, and that is USDA at work, trying to make our families stronger, trying to make sure that our kids are fed even when they're not in school. This last week, I was at a UNIDOS conference, and I met with Alberto Gonzalez Jr., who is the Chief Policy Advisor for the U.S. Food and Nutrition Services for the USDA. And when we talked about all the exciting new things that are happening at USDA with the food program, we're gonna get bigger, we're gonna get better, we're gonna serve more people. So you've got a whole load of information that you can talk to your constituents about. You can refer them to us. You know how to get a hold of us. I'm so glad that you have people here that will spread that message out. And that's it. I'd love to entertain some questions. And, oh, Jared will probably get mad at me. I did, we passed out a Rural Partners Network flyer. We passed out a home repair program flyer that everyone can go home with. And also, oh, at USDA, I forgot to tell you, we like to connect the dots. So we want to connect the dots with you, with your city, with other agencies, not just with the federal government, but we work with the state of Arizona. We work with a community foundation. We work with private nonprofits. One of them that we work with is GATA. GATA stands for Greater Arizona Development Authority. This is a really important agency within the state of Arizona that Jared was able to tap into. They have one person dedicated to this. We brought them out to the communities where we come and visit. There's funding available for those communities that would like to work with them. But please contact Mary Foote. You have it on your desk there. The program is GATA, and it'll help you with, I think I heard someone say that there was an old building here in Globe that they would really love to purchase and rehab. GATA might be the way to go. And this is someone that we can work with, where those services can overlap. We're all about partnerships, we're all about connecting the dots, and we're all about overlapping. So please, get a hold of us. We're here. We'll be here all day tomorrow and on Thursday, and we look forward to seeing you. I hope you stop by. That's it. And I'm
Questions or
happy
comments,
to answer
Fernando?
any questions.
I just got a real quick question. One of my customers, she's low income. Her house is in okay shape, but she has a retaining wall that holds the neighboring property up and away from her. That wall is failing. The neighbor has no money or income. Do you think, is that something that might qualify?
Yes, please have her come in to the location where we're at tomorrow, definitely. And we will have staff there. We will have the single family housing program director right there to answer any questions.
Thank you.
So
Mike, go ahead.
did I understand you to say that this is just for home upgrades and not additions or add-ons?
Yeah, no additions, but it's just to rehab a home, to make a home more livable for our low-income
Would
families.
that include the porch to the house?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No,
Thank you.
we could cover that, a porch to the house, yeah.
Okay. And then you have to be low income,
You have to meet the requirements.
okay.
Mike, you
I
had
got a question. We don't have that second page up here. Is there any way we
Oh,
can
did
get
you
it?
hand out data?
It's in the book.
Oh, it's in the book.
Besides the book,
book, I think.
Oh, is it?
I just saw it, yeah, I
Oh,
didn't see it
okay.
till after.
All right.
And so you have this one and that one,
That
Yeah.
one, yeah, I'll look in the book.
yeah. And you know what I like to say is make USDA your first call. If you have a question, call us up. We may not be able to help you, but we can connect the dots. Like I said, we formed partnerships. I talked to Anna Chavez, who is the CEO of the Arizona Community Foundation. She's there to help. If there's gap funding that's needed, we can bring her in and talk about how important it is and where they can fill in gaps. Because we know sometimes grants or loans that we have aren't always the best fit. So we want to bring in other people that can help.
Charlene, I just want to thank Jared. We went on open line last week, Kiko Radio, and that really, he did an excellent job in explaining the whole thing. I did get numerous calls after that. Some of the things people worried about, the list that they have to have, and I said, it's not over just that day. They're going to give you the opportunity, I would believe, to be able, because you're going to have some income information, insurance and stuff like that, even bids from contractors, but it's gonna be a hard time doing it. I said, just show up, give them the information, and they'll work with you. It's not over just because they come those 2 days.
And Mayor, we're so excited to work with all of you. I believe the deputy director called contractors here in the area that will be there and can prepare a bid. It doesn't have to be set in stone, just kind of a roundabout figure, and they're the ones that are able to, you know, put a number on what our individuals need. So, you know, I would encourage people to come. We're gonna have Social Security there. A lot of times, people don't have their Social Security card, or they don't know how much money their income is with Social Security. We're gonna have a Social Security representative there.
Great. Fernando?
Just a follow-up question, so, and Mike Pastor might know the name of the program, but I know the county facilitates a housing rehab for people that qualify, and I was aware that they had a long waiting list for the funding to come through. Is that something those
No,
people
these-
could
those-
jump out of line there and get
Yeah,
in your line?
these are totally different, and they can overlap those. So let's say someone did get the money from the county or the state or whatever that looks like, they would still qualify for USDA.
That's a program that Melissa ran.
Yeah,
Okay. I don't know who's running the program now, but the program's still there. It's rehabilitation for,
Yeah.
senior houses, homes and stuff like that.
Absolutely, and it always has, I mean, everywhere, not just here, you know, a line way long, definitely.
Yeah, and I believe the county's advertising this too, through
good.
their resources.
I have at least one constituent I'd like to send to you people tomorrow.
Please.
She's very leery and shy of qualifying, and I tell her, go, make them tell you no, and apply.
And this will be very private, it's not like, you know, we're going to be on a stage or anything like that, very private, and by the way, our staff is bilingual.
Okay,
If that's an issue, our staff is bilingual.
okay, thank you.
Thank
Just
you.
the dates and times again, Charlene, tomorrow you'll be there from 3 to 7.
Yes.
And then you'll be there on Thursday from 9 AM to 4 PM, and this will be at William Plaza. I'm sure they'll have it marked out which room you're in, but, it's the next 2 days.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay, we look forward to seeing you, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Shirley.
you.
So next we'll go to Baptist presentations, and we'll have a presentation by representatives of the Meridian Engineering Company updating council on the progress of the Pinal Creek Bridge, also known as Connie's Bridge.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, so, Eric Lydia is gonna be coming up and presenting from the podium. He's the superintendent at the project, and then he's got a couple, members of Meridian that are on Zoom that he'll probably pitch to as he does his presentation. And we do have a slide presentation. So Eric, if you wanna jump down to the podium, and if somebody wants to put up the slide. And then Eric, our Eric is gonna run the slide presentation.
So on the Zoom, we've got Curtis Rogers, he's our regional manager, and Edgardo Montano, he goes by Junior, he's our general superintendent. I'm current project manager / superintendent until we get backed up to staffing in the project. So we were asked by the city, a lot of questions, obviously, about the delays of the project, so we start with the history of delays. And so the drill shafts, I don't know how much the council knows about the problems we endured on those. And I can have Curtis or Junior speak to that real quick.
Are they unmuted?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So, you know, with drill shafts, they're under the ground, so you can't really see what's going on, so there's a cross-hole sonic logging that takes place, and that is a process where it bounces waves back and forth to see if there's any voids. Each shaft did have some, and so when that is found from them, they were prepared, so they will be as good as new. That does take time and effort, so that was a source of one of the delays.
And Curtis, we're getting a little bit of feedback from your microphone, I think.
Scratch.
So I don't know, or your Zoom connection, but Mayor, we had talked about that, about the sonic testing, and that has, so we're good, that's been resolved and to spec and everything, so.
And that took, it didn't really say how long that took. Was it months to remediate that?
Curtis, do you know how long that took, the mayor's asking? How many months?
Junior, maybe you can jump in on that one.
You sound much better, Curtis. Okay.
It took they had to core down and get all the data that they needed down below, find the deformities on the ones, so that's why it took a little longer. There was a company out of California that specializes on that. Legacy came out and did that remediation for us.
And Junior, did you say how many months that took? I think you broke up there for a second.
2.5 months.
4.5, do you say?
2.5.
2.5, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any questions on that portion? Obviously, the next weather delays, 22 and 23, wet winters for this area, and then the monsoon seasons. So there's, I'd have to, Luis, do you remember how many weather days we've lost off the top of your head? Forgot to include it.
We counted about 30-some days.
At least, yes, sir.
And so, and then there are two winter seasons. I know we had the constant flow and on the first winter, and then some of the monsoon stuff. Junior, were you there when you had the weather delays?
Yes, I was there, actually on both of them, so.
Okay.
The first one, we had the wash ran forever, so, Michaels couldn't, get in there because of how heavy their equipment is, so it was not doable for them to go while the wash was running, so we ended up, diverting, putting some diversion pipes in. In the process of doing that, at the wash ran again, so we lost all of our progress, and then we ended up doing it again, building it, bringing in, suitable material to be able to compact the big pad, for the crane, for the drill rig and all their equipment to sit in. So Michaels did not feel comfortable sitting their equipment down below until that pad was, fully built, with, compaction testing and lives, and then making sure those pipes were going to hold the weight of the drill rig and all the equipment they had on there.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, that when Luis says 30 days of weather, those are not including weekends. It's not 30 in a row, but 30 days that just was unworkable. But I think what Junior's reflecting is, after they get back to work, they just don't jump back in there and start up. They gotta get the mess cleaned up and resituate. So it's longer than just those 30 days, not including weekends. It delayed further.
And we're in the monsoon season right now.
Yeah.
So are you guys prepared for that, or?
Yeah, we've got the gabions. I don't know if you guys drove by, but after we rebuilt the gabions, they're in there the way they should have went in the first time. Structurally, they're pinned. We've had 2 good floods over the last 2 weeks, and we put a diversion dam upstream to keep the water off that Connie side, so it's channeling, bouncing off the downstream gabion wall and then going where it needs to.
Are you working on any gabion bins on the Connie side of the?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the 2 base layers are in, and we've got several vertical stacks already.
Okay. I go down there quite a lot and look at you guys working and everything, so I'm curious. Okay, thank you.
Ready, you got a question?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, in your contract, do you account for inclement weather days typically? And more so, does this contract have that?
Yeah, whether there's, our days that are basically subtracted from the contract, and as we go, every time we have a weather day, rain day, and they cannot go to work, we just, mark it as a weather day, no work.
So
that
there-
is part of the contract there, it's got to be added days to the contract.
Okay, so for every inclement weather day, there's a grace of an additional workday. Okay.
And we coordinate time off. We always check with Luis or get a hold of Richard or Lonnie or something, say, hey, what do you guys think? You guys wanna try to work? It's pretty bad, so we make that as a team decision.
Right.
Deck adjustments, Curtis or Junior?
So we had the deck formed, and then engineering came up with that it needed to be raised a few inches, so we had to go in and put another layer of forming down to raise the bottom of the deck. So that cost, I don't know what the end result was, probably 3 weeks or so of delays of that. By, deciding if it needed to happen and then actually doing the work.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, and that was not due to any action by Meridian. That is, I won't say, that we're still working through that, but I think everybody agrees that Meridian was responding to a change that was coming from somewhere else that needed to happen. And the good news is we got that figured out before we did the pour. But that one would not go against Meridian. And I'll leave it at that. Okay. Mary, you look like you have a question.
So that's the latest one, I guess.
No, that's
way back?
Yeah, look way back. We're getting to the.
Okay, so that's been adjusted
the deck
already.
That's before, remember when everybody walked the deck?
Yeah.
And I think you saw that just to lift the floor of the deck, they just put 2x4s and more.
Yeah.
I think you just raised the form a little bit, and that was an easy solution to something could have been a bigger problem. But that was about the time that I think we took the tour. And Luis, you have to jump up there because no one can hear you at home. So.
Sorry, Luis.
We didn't end up doing this together.
Back in the hot seat. Mr. Mayor, members of council, yeah, I just wanted to mention that in order to adjust that deck, we had to go back to redesign. We had to wait for the designer to give us new elevations and slopes, and that took quite a bit. And after that, they went, and did readjustments, and that took another couple of months. So we're talking 4 months right there, at least.
I wouldn't go too far, Luis. I just stay close. Okay. So then we get to the Gabions.
So the Gabions, we own that mistake. We had some less than perfect installation on that, kind of mismanaged. And obviously, I think you've been informed. That's when we got involved heavily, so moved on from several employees, and the Gabions had to be torn down because they were wrong. So we own that one. There is time delays on that, but at no cost to the city. That's on us. And now they're up, and then we do daily inspections with Luis and his team. Manufacturer installed, so we've already flood tested them twice. So the Gabions are on us.
Just a comment on, just explain Gabions, if people from the public don't know what a Gabion is.
So wire cage basket, they come in multitudes of shapes, sizes, there's different insulation. This one has got a pin system, so it's pinned to the wall through the baskets, and then there's wires that tie them together, and these ones are also, the downstream sides are dialed in to the bridge deck itself. So it's kind of it's not complicated if you've been around them, but it can throw you for a loop if you haven't, so.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, Luis, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was a value engineering that we went away from a concrete bank to a Gabion bank. Is that correct, Luis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is correct. Initially, instead of the Gabions, we were supposed to have more drill shafts and a wall on top of it, and then we did the value engineering, and that, reduced the cost of the project by $500,000, and, we went with the Gabions. So the Gabions is more like a protection of the embankment of the wash, so the erosion, wouldn't deteriorate the sides.
And they're just as strong as a concrete site then?
They are strong, and they are intended for drainage under bridges and on areas where the washes made sharp turns and stuff like that. That's when we use the Gabions.
backside of your wall, your whole gabion wall system is wrapped in, a fabric that's pinned up against the bank with the structural backfill, so therefore the erosion can't come through the void space and the rocks.
And, Mr. Mayor, there's a picture, so everybody knows what we're talking about.
How did they hold up with this last 2 days of heavy rains that we
Haven't
had?
moved,
Everything was okay?
they haven't moved.
So,
Good.
and Mr. Mayor, members of council, Luis, wasn't there a problem with the original design being so close to the railroad track that putting those pilings in was gonna have an issue? So it wasn't just a cost saving, but it was a kind of a structural.
Yeah,
is that true?
after the value engineering, there was one more drill shaft that we couldn't drill because it was way too close to the railroad tracks right there by the wooden bridge. So when we were drilling, the whole thing started to shake, and we were, just afraid of that thing tumbling down. So we stopped right there, and we eliminated that drill shaft, and we added the gabions on that corner. So, yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, I think if we had gone with a concrete bank and the need for those pilings, it would have been a problem. So this is actually I think, an affordable solution, but a better solution. Go back to the slide.
Gabions will hold up if they're done right.
Deck top surface, so when we poured the entire bridge, it was 307 cubic yards. We did it in one day. We have some low spots or some high spots that were identified, so we tried to clean them up, and the city wanted like a remediation plan. And then were some questions if there was void spaces, wood left in the deck, things like that. So we started, still in the process of a remediation plan, so we're gonna sandblast grind the deck, it's called, with a machine, and then it'll be grooved and tined, and then it gets ACFC coating. So aesthetically, ride, it'll be better than just a finished concrete product. That's something we're taking care of to appease the city for the minor imperfections. That also brought up the several-week delay there, because the city questioned structural integrity. So we GPR scanned it from the bottom, several places, with 2 different GPR scan machines from Western Technologies. Everything looked good.
We did it from the top.
Yep, but we have actually did a couple spots on the bottom, just looking at it. So the GPR showed the rebar, everything that, so we core drilled at the engineer's request to see if there was indeed a cold joint. Where the GPR, we pulled 2 perfect cores there Monday afternoon. I mean, they look great. The bridge is structurally sound. On the bottom, when we stripped forms, there was some honeycombing. One of the rails, the plastic feet, they're designed to stay in the concrete, had come through. So either lack of vibration or over vibration on a few spots down there. So the city is bringing in a third-party tester, hopefully a week from this Wednesday. And we'll let them see how they want to handle their remediation of the bottom deck. We'll get a plan together, get some metals in place, and we'll go from there.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, Luis, so the cold joints that we had talked about before, we think those are not an issue. And I just wanted to clarify that that's a real important point.
Yeah, as Eric mentioned, after we did the testing on the surface with those 2 machines, and both of them were showing probabilities of having a cold joint, which means it's concrete that was poured, like on the bottom layer, and then when you come back and do the second one, sometimes the bottom layer is already, kind of like a hardening. And the other one, it still gets stuck to it, but it's not really kind of like you can mix it because the other one is already not, workable. So we had that concern, and the machines showed them. We detected the locations where we had to do the coring, and so we pulled, those cylinders of concrete, and we couldn't find the cold joint. So we were supposed to do 3 cores, and the plan was to do the first 2 And if there was no indication of the cold joint, we wouldn't do the third one. So that's what happened.
So that was good news to hear.
Yep. And then just so everybody's in the loop, we provided the city with all the 28-day brake tests. Every test meets or exceeds the 4,500 PSI spec. Good on the history of delays page. Upcoming activities, we're gonna focus on getting the approach slab on the railroad side poured, and then get the curb and gutter tied in on Broad Street, and getting that apron poured. That'll free up the railroad flagger to be gone, because we'll be out of their easement for the time being until we come back to do the paving at the intersection. And then we'll focus on the Connie side. Railroad gates and signal installation, I think they're scheduled to be out here the 21st of August. We'll have our curb gutter portion done so they can set their arms. And then commission them, obviously, when the road's ready, the bridge is ready to be open. The sidewalk and road realignment by Connie's, and we had, extensive conversations on this. Everybody thinks it's just a slab. That street is coming out, getting reworked, redone. I mean, we're moving driveways over there. There's utilities that gotta be raised and relocated. We gotta tap a 12-inch water main, so there is still a substantial amount of work to be done on that Connie side. Yep, it'll be a full detour. And then, once we get that wrapped up, we're gonna hit it with everything we got, try to just keep going. And then the last thing we gotta do is on Hill Street. There's about 230 feet left to mill and pave. And tie that in, and we do have the ADOT permit submitted, traffic control plans in place for that, so that'll be the final thing we do. And then there's that one little, where the Prince called for the vertical curb, and then they changed the curb design, and we got an ADA ramp up there at the intersection of Hill and,
Hill and Hine.
yes, sir, so minor rework there.
You guys are gonna finish that sidewalk and everything right there?
Yep, yes, sir.
Yeah.
We'll try to grab that the minute, if we got extra guys while we're pouring these curb gutter and the approach on the railroad side and stuff, we'll just free up bodies to go up and put some VPs around it and get going on it.
Okay, yeah. I had a constituent complaining to me about it, and I said, well, let me look into it for you.
And
That's basically the rest of our schedule outside of the paving operations.
And Mr.
And
Mayor,
then we have the demo of the bridge downstream. But I mean, we'll get that out of there pretty quick.
Yeah, and, Fernando, you mentioned the handrails on the old bridge. Are they aware of it? Remember you said about saving?
Yeah, I'd like to see somebody get salvaged.
this is the person to ask.
Salvage them?
Yeah, the metal one,
Yeah.
the ones that are there.
You wanna save the railing on the
Yeah.
bridge, okay? We can do that.
Worth a lot of money, and
We
you're gonna pay to dump them.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, on the closure, we'll have to do a full closure there of the road. We're looking between 1 and 2 weeks, but we'll make sure we get some lead time and some alternative routes out to everybody.
Yeah, we're working on a finish date schedule, so we get a couple more pours by the end of the week, early part next week. We meet with the city in person every Wednesday. At least they know, they get a 3-week look ahead from us. Some days we get pours canceled for rain. Today we had a subcontractor not show up on site. They messed their schedule up, not on anybody here, so, but we'll get it pulled together. Is there any other questions on upcoming activities?
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor. I learned a lot this project about the railroad. They are on their own timeline, their own schedule. Contractor has no control over that. So when they say they're gonna go do something, it's up to them and they're on their own dime and time.
Exactly correct,
They
sir.
have no way of telling them, can you be here at this? No, they don't. They don't do that. So that was a learning curve moment for me.
Yeah,
Thank
right
you,
now,
Mr.
they're
Mayor.
currently a 3 to 5 week schedule, so the minute I kick that flagger loose, we have already got to pre-plan when we're gonna need them back.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Mayor, members of council, and to Councilman Gonzalez's point, while the railroad is big and they're hard to schedule and they make things more complicated, I don't wanna give the impression that the railroad is responsible for anything at this point. Okay, I think they, you know, it's, I don't want to get that miscommunication. Like I say, they're doing their best, although they are big and they are cumbersome.
We're building bridges on the reservations.
Yeah, so.
Now, they are scheduled for August on the arms?
Yes, sir,
To
August
install the
21st.
arms.
Yes,
So
sir.
that's not gonna hinder anything that you guys are continue doing?
Their stuff goes behind ours.
Okay.
So, and we'll be done with our portion of that side of the road, so that everything that will be required will be in there for them. The only thing we're waiting on the railroad is they need to pick their, pedestals through APS, so MDC, our subcontractors, can get those set to get the conduits ran for the power.
Freddie, go ahead.
You mentioned something about working on a end of project schedule. When do you anticipate having that schedule?
The end date?
Yeah, the end date schedule.
So we do a 3-week schedule every week provided to the city via in person and electronically.
So it gets updated every week?
Weekly, it gets updated.
Okay.
We carry a column on what we plan to do, what we didn't get done, what was, you know, so it's pretty comprehensive schedule. Shows you what we planned and what we got accomplished.
And currently, there is no end date on the current schedule?
No, sir, there's not.
Okay.
With the current delays, we're having to juggle, like, our biggest one we're running into, and we have almost every other day communication, is our paving subs. You know, in the summer, everybody's trying to pave, schools are going back, I mean, everybody's starting to move, so the pavers are extremely busy. So we are doing everything to keep them, adjusting them week by week, so they can accommodate their other clients, and we can keep our placeholder with them.
A lot of moving targets, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Sometime in the future.
And Eric, I don't know who from Meridian wanted to comment on commitment to quality and commitment to partnership.
We can take it, I mean, you know, we made some management adjustments on our team, you know, we readjusted, moved some bodies in here, I've been here, trying to be here at least 3 to 5 days a week. I have other projects, but I'm not here. Junior, when he's free up from other jobs, he comes down here. We've got a new project engineer that's here pretty much full-time. Tomorrow, we'll introduce our new superintendent. He got his orientation done, truck package down at the Tucson office, so the city will get to meet him tomorrow. He's got a lot of wealth of experience. He'll be able to fill in on the days that I'm not here and just add to the team.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, so Eric, is your new hire, did you, from here or something?
He is, he's a local guy. His name's Steve Ingles. And I think, you know, we set out, things got chippy, not completely adversarial, but things got very chippy between the teams and the people, you know, that we let go and stuff. So Luis and I made a commitment that we would try to pull this together, and we told him Meridian will finish this. We started it, we'll finish it. And it'll be schedule-wise, probably won't hit schedule, but the quality and the structural integrity of it'll be there. And aesthetically with the new rail package and the lighting package, so we have every confidence we'll finish it.
Fernando?
I know that we've had some bumps in the road, but one thing I do really appreciate is that you haven't pushed back on making sure that the end product is quality.
Yes,
You know, because we don't have a ton of money, we sure as heck don't have enough money to do it again.
No, absolutely, and that's, you know, we're paying for our portions of it, and, you know, it's one of our 3 pillars in our company is quality, and that's something the owner demands.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, we do.
Any questions or comments?
And we have a couple pictures also, so that's the Gabion picture.
Just showing the new Gabions, but yeah, you get time to swing by, you wanna ask some questions in person, feel free to grab me or my young engineer. One of us are typically on the deck or sitting in a truck on our computers right there. We'd love to give you a tour, answer some more questions in depth if you're up to it. Luis has got my personal number, so.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Fernando had said. I guess at this point, it's not really a matter of time, you know, with all the delays and everything. It's a matter of expecting the quality of work,
Yes, sir.
what we paid for, and what our the residents of our community really anticipate. So I think it's important that that's what we should concentrate on, the end product, you know, not worrying about the time frame at this time, but making sure we get a quality bridge that we anticipated with all the design and everything that we have seen.
Yes, sir.
That, and I wanna thank our engineer, Luis, too, because he's been stellar for us.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, to Eric, hey, thank you so much. Would you be willing to come back in a month and update us again?
One of us will, for sure, yeah, and I can be here, I don't know, I'm starting, we'll definitely have another attendee for you, though.
We'll have the second meeting in August then. I think we'll look to have, love to have you come back and just
And
show us.
even by then, you know, like, young Keelan there, he'll have the whole project, he just finished his second full week on it, but now that we've talked about delays and the issues, you know, I think the next one would probably be where we're at, how close are we to finishing it, so we'll have somebody here to answer questions and give you an update.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Guys have a good evening.
And Curtis and Junior, thank you online, on Zoom. Okay.
Thank you.
Put it on the agenda.
Well, moving on.
Gotta find my agenda.
I move to approve all of it.
And Mr. Mayor, to the council, I did get a text from, Councilman Leatham. He's unable to attend.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Did we have questions online?
oh, no, that's for, that was not related to this, was it?
No.
There's somebody still on there.
What's that?
There's somebody still on there?
No, yeah, there are a bunch of people, so that's the next presentation. But, pull up I believe the comments that were online were for, another project that's not on the agenda that we can put in the second call to the public.
Okay. Okay.
What's that?
So next we have item 4 on our agenda is consent calendar. Matters listed on the consent calendar considered to be routine will be enacted by one motion and one vote. Public hearing items are designated with an asterisk prior to consideration consent agenda. The mayor will ask whether any member of the public wishes to remove a public hearing item for separate consideration. Members of the council and or staff may remove any item for separate consideration. Item A, consideration of waiver of section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule to allow action on the balance of the consent agenda. A1, accounts payable, $2,150,975.37. And item 2 is consideration of approval of council minutes. Do we have anybody from staff, council, or the public wishing to remove any of these items for separate consideration?
Mayor, I'd move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any further discussion? Just for the sake of the public, can we explain why it's $2 million this time?
So it's a 5-week cycle rather than a 2-week cycle, and at the passage of the new budget, there are many things we pay a year in advance.
Any other question, discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. New business, item 5A, council will discuss and possibly approve a contract with Prescott Law Group PLC for the prosecutorial services for the city of Globe in the amount not to exceed $18,000 to be funded from account number 10-55-51226. Outside legal counsel and authorize the city manager to extend the duration of the contract within the existing funding limitations and ask to waive section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule.
Let's see. And so we're trying to pull Andy up on the screen here.
Once he starts talking, it will be.
What's that?
As soon as he starts.
Okay, and while we're getting Andy queued up, Mr. Mayor, members of council, we're requesting tonight to bring forward, to add a component of our legal staff. We've always, traditionally, we've run with Bill Sims, who's covered as our city attorney, and in certain instances, he would step in for magistrate, city code, and civil traffic. We didn't have a lot of that going on. We handled that with civil traffic mainly being done by the officers and by city staff doing the city code, primarily code enforcement and building code. As you know, many of the volumes of what we do, the volumes of our growth, the volumes of our efforts on code enforcement and development have gotten larger and larger. And I think it's time that we instead of relying on city staff to do this performing in a courtroom and trying to present the city's position, we are looking to bring in a part-time lawyer from Prescott, Andy Jolly, and we have a contract. Couple key things. He, like I say, this will give us a chance to do some added features. While he's from Prescott, he'll be traveling here for court dates, and I think it's just going to make us more consistent and more accountable. So with that, I'm going to kick it to Andy. And do you want to talk about what the services you provide? Andy?
Sure. I was able to come down there a couple weeks ago and met with many of you. I appreciate that opportunity. Just to let those who didn't get a chance to meet me know, this is what I do. I have contracts with 5 small towns around northern Arizona. And I provide the prosecutorial services so that they don't have to have full-time staff. I am willing to travel. That's, talking with Paul, that's, my world. That's what I do. I have a car that just goes, it just knows where to go. So that's not a problem for me. I have 13 years experience doing this type of stuff, and have had success with many of the towns. Many of the towns that I contract with have been 13 years contracted with, and I enjoy the relationships that I've built with those small towns. I grew up in a small town. Prescott is no longer a small town, but one of the towns that I represent is Chino Valley, which is similar to Globe. So I'm happy to answer any questions or do whatever you'd like me to do.
Do we have questions or?
And so, Mr. Mayor, members of council, I think one of the things that we learned from Andy when he was down here is the addition of a pretrial conference that Andy can have. Not only will he help guide staff in how we write citations and how we bring them forward, but once there's citations written, Andy will have that, and then he'll be able to contact the person and talk to them and see what can be done about it, where they're at, and we believe that it actually will help reduce the number of cases that actually go to court, because he will have that authority and that knowledge to do that, to make those conversations happen. So I think that's really another really important key that we never felt comfortable doing. We're not legal professionals on what can happen there. And then Andy's also met with Judge Perlman. He'll be working primarily in the magistrate court. And so I think, Andy, anything else other than the contract? I do want to have some comments on the contract at the very end, but Mayor, you have a question?
Yeah, so I guess the way I understand it is, not only will he help out with the pretrial conferences and help writing the citations, but he'll also, if they're issued a citation, will he work with those individuals such as code enforcement citations before or trying to not get it to court?
Yes. Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, honestly, most of the things that I handle don't end up in court because we can work them out. The goal here is compliance, not punishment. We just want, my perception is that the people who need me to talk to them just need to understand that the town has a code for a reason, and our goal is to get them in compliance with the code.
So right now, our system does not allow for that. We would, an individual gets a citation, and then it goes to our court, and our judge has to either mediate or help establish a plan or come up with a decision as to which way to go. So this will give us one step in between that then, is what I understand.
Correct. Yeah, usually what happens is the citation is issued. We set up a time where they have to call and talk to me, and or if I need to come down and meet with them in person. And usually during that conversation, I am a friendly person. I did like I say, grew up in a small town, I know how to talk to people, so I can generally help them understand that here's what we're looking for, here's what you're willing to do, here's how it's gonna resolve, and if we can't resolve it that way, then, the judge, you know, kind of brings the hammer in behind it, and there is, under the town code, they can actually be filed, a criminal citation can actually be filed, which would have to go through justice court, which I could also handle, but that's the ultimate hammer. It's a criminal citation, which, you know, in 13 years of doing this, we're talking less than 20 times as that come to that.
And just one more question I have is, will this go beyond code enforcement? Will it be utilized in other departments like as police and fire or other areas, or is this just mainly go code enforcement?
It's mainly city code,
Code
and
compliance?
then civil traffic. The way the contract is structured is we're gonna do a trial run of 6 months at a rate of 1,500 a month, and we have a little bit of a cap for in case something goes big. If we have a case that takes more than 10 hours, then Andy will charge hourly for additional work on any one case, because we're trying to get Andy. This is Andy's suggestion, you know, to get a baseline as to how we will be utilized, and so we will let him do his work, see what ebbs and flows and where he fits in and where staff can still go. We're still not sure exactly how it's going to work with PD and how much or how little he'll be operating. And then we'll come and reevaluate in 6 months. And actually the contract we're looking at is a 6-month contract, although we're putting additional money in for the year, and we're putting some leverage or some ability for me to extend it if need be. But I think it's a good idea that coming in brand new, Andy takes a look and we learn from him, he learns from us. We kind of get a balance of what he will take on and what we will remain doing.
Great. Mike, you had a question?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Jesse and I sat in and interviewed, forgot his name.
For Andy?
Yes. And you know, he reassured us that he kind of takes one of the steps out that we've been having trouble doing, and, you know, talks to the violators and is pretty, you know, very fair and upfront with them, and just lets them know that, you know, this is something you're gonna have to do, or else you're going, you know, we won't have any more excuses for the violators to let them hang out there for several months or years or whatever. So we were pretty pleased with this presentation, and we were pretty comfortable with it.
Wow, nice. Good.
Mr.
Mariano,
Mayor,
you got
just a comment. We projected that we were gonna have growth in this city, and our economy is growing, and everything that we see is where we want it to be. What we didn't really prepare for was that we need someone to look out for the best interests of the city. And the stakes are high now. We have subdivisions, businesses all coming online, and we need to be sure that the interests of the city are defended. And we didn't have that before. And after speaking to Andy, I realized it's time to do that. We needed another specialist to help in that development in our growth. No one likes to expand government, but if we're protecting the interests of the city, and I've seen several cases in the last few years, that's what we're after, is to protect our interests. And it's something that we have to deal with and promote. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Great.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, to the Councilman Gonzalez's point, we're not, because of the existence of a prosecutor on city staff, doesn't mean we'll have more or less violations. It just means that we're gonna process them in a different way. But I will tell you, I think, Andy, at least two for sure, maybe 3 cities are smaller than Globe and already have a prosecutor. And it just because they don't have the staff that has the flexibility to do that. So we, like I say, it's time for us to make this leap and keep every portion of the city, every activity, so it balances with the growth in other portions of the city.
You're absolutely right. I represent the town of Jerome, which is much smaller, but a lot like Globe because of the historical value. And then the town of Tucson, which is the south rim of the Grand Canyon. One of the things that's unique about them is the corporation aspect of that town, which Globe gets a little bit because of the mining industry. So I definitely see that. I did want to add that my roles in these other towns is not just code enforcement. It crosses over into criminal enforcement, and we're not doing that here now, but I do work closely with the police departments in those, and also the fire departments. Well, Tucson doesn't have a fire department, but the chief of the fire department in Jerome, you know, we talk on a regular basis to make sure that if there's something I can do to help them with enforcement, that we do it. I did meet with your chief of police. I was very impressed with him, and I do believe him and I will have a good working relationship in the future for if there is any additional growth that needs to happen.
Great. And Mr. Mayor, members of council, last thing, two last things. The only changes on the contract that was posted was the addition, and you should have this with the yellow on the front, was the additional of the, if it's over 10 hours, we'll go for an hourly rate at $150, which is very agreeable. And then this contract that we're putting forward will be a 6-month contract, and then we'll come back to extend. Now, it's written, which allows myself, if like say, we're trying to get this together and our 6 months runs out, I can do a quick extension and keep the contract going until we can get this forward. I didn't want to, you know, make sure that we hit the timing right, but it gives me that authority to extend it within the boundaries of the 18,000, which is what was budgeted. And it may turn out that at the 6 months, there'll be an adjustment that we'll talk about, and maybe that we're projecting we may need to do a little bit more money if we need to. But I like the idea of us trying to guess the future. Let's do a trial run and get a baseline for what we need, what we don't need, and that's why this contract is written as it is. The second thing is Andy comes highly recommended, not only from Bill Sims, who worked with him on a big case that they had to clean up from another one back in the past, and then also the city manager Tucson, very high marks. So I spoke with her at the conference, and she was very happy with the value that Andy brought to their city.
Great.
You don't have to believe me on this, but my goal with towns is always to establish a long-term relationship, not a bill you for a couple of months and then never see you again. Yeah. My track record backs that up, but the contracts I have with the towns is what I do for a living, so they mean a lot to me, and I work hard to try to make sure that the town is getting what they're paying for, and I'm available for the towns that need me to be. All of the police departments that I work with have my cell phone number and call me, not daily by any means, but you know, the chief in Jerome calls me at least 2 or 3 times a month to just talk about an issue and what he thinks we can do to resolve it and what we can do together.
Any other questions from anybody? You have one more comment. I think, you know, I like the idea of having somebody, and I know our staff is super busy and it's hard to keep up with everything going on. And I think this just gives us another, because we are so busy, and it gives you that communication, that point of contact with those citations, and somebody that has a legal background to be able to work to a solution and not taking it to court. So I really think it would be a big plus for our city. And then one other comment, I wish we could change our name from code enforcement officer to code compliance. It sounds much nicer, much easier.
Well, we can work on that, Mayor. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the one thing I will tell you that we're speaking about doing internally with bringing on a prosecutor, we're going to be bringing on some modifications to the process. We have a backlog of some of the cases that we have. With Andy here, I think our timeliness is going to grow because again, more manpower working, you know, to get these done. We are putting a high emphasis on whatever the outcome. Let's get the case going and get it resolved. And so we will, many of the cases that we have not gotten to yet, we're gonna reevaluate and pretty much, you know, go back and focus on those and make sure we're doing those right too. So we do have a backlog that Andy's gonna help us get a handle on.
Okay.
And,
Freddie.
Thank you, Mayor. I think one of the things, and you're probably already have talked about this, but, you know, as a council member, I think it's important that we focus on consistency. Because without the consistency in whatever manner we're going to manage the enforcements and the codes and things like that, that can be construed as favoritism from one to the other. So I think it's really important that hopefully this team can bring together some consistency so that those individuals that want to challenge the system will know that there is a consistent pattern, and it's not any kind of a certain council member's favorite person or anything like that. So just wanted to make that comment.
and Mr. Mayor, members of council, Andy, did you want to comment on consistency?
Well, I definitely think that I bring a perspective where I don't know who these violators are. I mean, I feel bad even calling them violators. Most people just don't quite understand how the code works. But that makes it a lot easier for me to be, one, the scapegoat if needed, and two, the outsider who you can't say I'm showing favoritism because I don't know. I do understand how small towns work, and I do understand how it spreads quickly. And I try very hard not to make anybody angry. I mean, if somebody gets mad, it's just gonna be a longer fight. Solving problems requires working with people, not working against people. But I agree, I will be consistent across the board because that's all I know how to do. I'm not getting whispers from anyone to say, oh, you should treat this person differently. I don't know.
Thank you.
And last thing, Mr. Mayor, members of council, we have on here, we'd like to waive the rule, because staff we're in that transition period right now. We have some things, coming forward and some things we're trying to get the timing right. And so we would ask that council waive the rule and approve the contract, tonight, given the things we have pressing and the fact that this is a short-term contract. We will come back in the next 6 months and talk more about this.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve a contract with Prescott Law Group, PLC, for professional services for the city of Globe in an amount to not exceed $18,000 to be funded from account number 10-55-51226, outside legal counsel, and authorize city manager to extend the duration of the contract within the existing funding limitations, and request a waiver of section 2-4-10A, prior discussion rule.
Second.
Got a motion and a second for approval of item 5A. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you.
Andy, thank you. You'll probably get a call about 8:15 in the morning.
Thank you all very much. It was nice to see you, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Okay,
Have a good night.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. Item 5B, discussion of possible direction to staff to negotiate air ambulance membership contract terms and rates for both residential and employee coverage with Air Medic Care Network, Banner Air, and PHI Cares for possible final approval at the next available council meeting.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, we've talked about this a couple of times. I think Eric is gonna pull up the PowerPoint. It's a one-slide PowerPoint, a very minimalist PowerPoint. Pass back that and just go to the slide. Second slide, there it is. Make it full screen. And so we have, on the line, we both have members of Banner and members of PHI. I think Kevin is leading the conversation with PHI, and then Adam for Banner, and I hope I don't get those backwards. I probably will by the end of the night. But this, you've seen this before. This is a slide they put together that does a comparison. It's based on the two slides that they had supplied with the quotes in there. And we had, I would start, I think, with the fact that since we last talked, we had a work group look over this. And I don't know who was at the work group that would like to comment on the discussion with that before we go to questions for the people on board.
Well, I think it was Mike, Jesse, and myself on that. Were you there? Who was our third?
I should have been there, but I had to work out of town.
So
I thought was on the helicopter.
Yeah, on the helicopter, yeah.
Okay.
yeah, we discussed both employee coverage and residential coverage for the entire, residents in the city and the costs associated with that. So again, it's gonna be a council decision as to how we move forward with this. I think we do an injustice. I think we found that out that last year or the year before, even 2 years before, we're only purchasing PHI. But we found that in our research that PHI is not always available. So if you're not flown by PHI and you have insurance to PHI and Banner comes in and flies you or another helicopter company, it doesn't carry over. It doesn't cover you. So we found that the two main responders to our community are PHI and Banner Air. So that's what, our discussion was, what do we do? Do we get both? And I think we need to understand the coverage portion of it. Is it covered just in Gila County? Is it covered statewide? I think that Banner and PHI both should do some kind of marketing and some education for not only our employees, but for our community, so they understand what this membership actually means to these individuals. It could be detrimental to anybody that gets flown. I don't know what the cost would be, to an individual, and it could bankrupt somebody in certain cases. So that was a discussion, and it's up to this council to decide which way they want to go. That's what we discussed. Mike, anything to add?
Yeah, the mayor covered it pretty good. The option is there. I mean, we should have that option simply because in my case this summer when I was, I knew I had PHI. Of course, I didn't get to go on the helicopter. They wouldn't take me out of the helicopter. They ambulanced me. But while I was there in the hospital, boy, I'll tell you what, those helicopters are bringing people in constantly. And if you don't have insurance, man, I'd hate to have that bill.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we talked a little bit, and I talked to Kevin and Adam before this meeting, members of each. And while, many people have health insurance because of the Affordable Care Act, but it's very high deductible. There is a No Surprises Act, but that just says that they can't charge out of network rates for that they have to cover, but there's still deductibles, there's still minimums and things like that. And so, but I do believe that one of them talked about one person who did not have coverage at all, and this helped. So what in the trying to determine the cost benefit to make sure the fiduciary responsibility of council is met, and that this money is spent wisely, because this is for residential coverage, general fund money. One of the things that I've been asking with both Kevin and Adam, with PHI and Banner, is for some utilization information in the way of the number of flights that actually are covered, not so much the number of flights out of the region, which is a lot and growing, but the number that people who take advantage of the membership, and then total savings that they provide, and then at some point a magnitude of savings. And they both showed interest of trying to get that information for council. So at the end of this cycle, we can learn how much did our money really benefit the residents and what that is. But I think at this point, I'll kick it to, let's start with Kevin. You heard the council conversation and my conversation. Kevin, what would you and your folks like to add?
Would like to introduce Chris Peterson. You'll see his video, and he is my He's got your information ready to go for you.
Okay, and let's see, so
Good
then,
afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Thanks for having us and allowing me to speak with you this evening. I do want to make a comment with regard to your work group and what you found. I've been dealing with MSPs and membership coverage for many years, and I will tell you that in all the MSPs that I've orchestrated and been able to manage and give to the general public, none of them will fly out of the county or the city that they're designed to cover. Unfortunately, we fly quite a bit. We have maintenance times when we have to be down. We have bad weather, inclement weather that we are not allowed to fly in, nor is anyone else. So there are times when, unfortunately, these programs are designed to absorb most of the flights for your residents. However, it's unfortunate that we just, and no one can guarantee 100% coverage under a plan. So I do want to go through a list of questions that was provided to us day before yesterday by Mr. Gibson. And I'll go through each one of them if that's all right with you and the council, Mr. Mayor.
That'd be good.
Okay. Since the number of flights that were covered by our membership, City of Globe, Arizona agreement was effective dates were from July 1st of 2023 to June 30th of this year. Since that time and during that time, we had 22 verified flights out of Guyatt County, and those people were Globe residents picked up and transported to from the city of Globe or Guyatt County. So you had 22 flights. We currently have one flight that has happened between the June 30th date and today. That is being held. Second question was the total value of the benefits provided based on our membership. The answer that I'll give is simply this: the total value of the membership and the benefit membership provided to you in your MSP agreement is simply the no out-of-pocket financial burden that people would have received for those 22 plus 1 flights that your residents have been flown over the last 12 months. Our membership, ladies and gentlemen, impacts those people dramatically. I know there's been some question about uninsured people. I do want to elaborate a little bit on that, but I do specifically want to state that our contract and our membership and MSP program covers the member even if they are uninsured. Without question, no one under our agreement will have any out-of-pocket expense, period. I know that some of our competitors charge uninsured individuals at the Medicare rate. We do not. It's, without question, everyone's taken care of under the same price and policy. So with the conversation with regard to the Affordable Care Act, unfortunately, there are people in our communities, in all of our communities, that are just simply uninsured, whether it's due to the economy, personal choices, what have you. Under the Affordable Care Act, the individual mandate that required for most Americans to have health insurance still exists. However, starting since 2019's tax year, there is no federal penalty or IRS penalty for non-compliance under that individual mandate, which allows the uninsured to do as they wish. Currently, any American not carrying health care coverage is not subject to a tax penalty any longer since that time period. And that's per healthcare.gov website. Also, those, that have Affordable Care Act, as you are insured, regardless of the plan levels, have quite a large out-of-pocket experience, before any of that kicks in. So, our membership covers those people as well. It's very important that we understand that this goes much further than, like I think someone just alluded to. These things can impact people dramatically. They can force people into bankruptcy. They can force people to foreclose on certain things, not make payments on certain things, lose their houses, their property, maybe sell things, maybe not keep their business open because of this. So it impacts people. The ripple effect is quite enormous. Third question was about the benefit savings to the average amount of benefit savings to our members. I'm currently not able to discuss the savings for our company's policy, but I will say that it varies greatly depending on the situation, ladies and gentlemen, and the insurance coverage for each individual that has coverage. You could be looking at anywhere from $2,500 all the way up to $70,000. And that's the only way I can answer that question. I'm sorry, but I'm not at liberty to discuss that. Single participant benefit, again, I'm not at liberty to discuss that. I don't know of any company and our competitors who disclose that type of information. As far as we can add the data request to the contract coming up, I can add the verbiage to the contract that'll allow us to present to the city during the initial review process each year, the verbal discussion on flight volumes and numbers for the previous year, and that would be for your review and evaluation. So, Mr. Justin, I hope that answers the questions that you put out to Mr. Gorski the other evening. And if there's anything else I can answer, I'll be more than happy to field any questions.
Thank you, that helps me, but I think council has some questions.
Thank you. So I was here when the first presentation was made here live, and I just, maybe for some clarification, there was an offer for every constituent that was in this program with an additional $40 or $45, I believe, one-time fee that would expand some coverage beyond the city of Globes. Is that accurate?
That's what we call an MSP upgrade, sir, and that is a $30 upgrade fee, and that expands your residents' coverage from current coverage boundaries to a nationwide coverage for $30.
A one-time $30 upgrade gives you coverage.
It's done annually, sir.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I didn't hear it.
Done annually, you said.
Annually?
It's done, it's an annual upgrade.
$30.
Okay, and that's nationwide coverage at that point?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I do have one question. Freddie had mentioned residents in the city. That the initial is Gila County then, right? If our takeoff area is Gila County?
Yes, that boundary area is the county line for the city employees.
Okay. Doesn't matter where the destination is then?
That's correct, sir. No, we facilitate a patient based on their needs, it's not determined by anything else. It's all about the patient and what's best for them.
One other question, the member, I'm sorry.
We did have additional counties that were added this year, for the benefit of your city, Mr. Mayor. I did want to state one thing that, Graham County, we had, quite a bit of flights out of, and I would hope that none of those were your residents, but there could be a great opportunity that there was. I would like to at least have the city consider I know we had given you 2 additional counties this year at no cost, to the city. But I think one of those counties needs to be swapped out for Graham County, which is the hospital that, we can transport equipment from patients out of. And can be utilized by your residents.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, we're gonna be moving this forward for, final approval in 2 weeks based on your direction. And so if we wanna have that conversation about swapping out one of the counties, we can kind of do some research. I can have some additional conversations and see if we can figure out if that's, and maybe check with the fire chief, see if that's something we wanna do. So Mr. Mayor,
Chris, I do have one more question, sorry. So when we talk about this membership and we're talking about the household then. When we cover a resident, that means everybody in their household, not just that individual, but everybody in the household.
That is absolutely correct, Mr. Mayor, yes.
Would that include if you're taking care of a mother-in-law, a father-in-law, or somebody within your house?
If you bought an individual membership, that individual membership, takes care of everyone, including all dependents in your household and up to 2 non-dependents, so the answer would be yes.
okay, that's good. So Mr. Mayor, members, I think. Go ahead,
So,
Freddie.
based on that question, I'm gonna reach out a little further. What are, the individuals that have children that are, say, going to school, but they're still dependents? And their school is not at
I'm
home?
in that same category, sir, so, if I have a H1 membership or an upgrade membership, that would cover, my 2 daughters in college, so, when they're away.
So the answer is yes, it is covered? Or there's an additional fee?
Under the MSP, it is the household that is in your city, within limits. So, I will check with my legal department, but as of right now, if they had the upgrade, they would be eligible for the coverage.
All right, thank you.
And
Yes, absolutely. Is there any other questions I could field?
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, let's go to Adam and his team. Adam, would you like to share some information with council based on the discussion and our conversation, or anybody on your, as part of Banner?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. I will go ahead and start. I will introduce Jeff Miller here in a few moments to touch upon the membership and with the employees as well as the MSP that we would be doing. A lot of it is very similar to what PHI offers. It will be covering the households as long as it's based off the primary mailing address, their primary residence. So if their residence is in Globe, they will be covered under the MSP. We do offer the multiple counties options as well. And it goes along the same lines as Mr. Peterson was stating, that the multitude of insurance that are out there, we're not at liberty to say how much each individual flight will save them, just because it varies based off of the circumstances. Being flown out of Gila County, they could be flown to Maricopa County, they could be flown to Pinal County, and depending upon the actual services that they need, the way that Mr. Peterson expressed it is with co-pays, co-insurance, deductibles. As long as they are flown with us, there is no out-of-pocket cost for a transport. And to continue the partnership that we're trying to grow and build here, we want to make sure that the citizens of Globe are covered and they have that financial peace of mind. And so when there are times that we are not able to have our helicopter fly, but PHI is, there is a lack of confusion or uncertainty with the citizens to make sure that they have that coverage that they are looking for on either flight. I did speak with one of our other Banner Air representatives who has been tracking the numbers since the last city council meeting, and while I don't have year-long flight numbers because this is would be our first year as an MSP, she did tell me that since the last city council meeting that we were at back at the end of June, we have responded to around 8 different flights in the last month out to the Globe citizens. And then as far as the financial aspect of things and the details that go along with that, that's where I will bring on Jeff Miller, who is our Director of Membership Nationwide, and he will be able to answer any further questions that go a little bit further into detail than I have.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate the introduction. Mayor, city council members, it's a pleasure. Wish I could be there in person again. Just wanted to remind you all that we have a couple different options on the table here for you. We have the standard MSP with pickup within Gila County. We also have the MSP with the additional counties adding Maricopa, Pinal, and Coconino. So you've got a couple different options there from us and employee options. We do also offer upgraded memberships for your city residents for the pricing of $45 per household, or if they're over the age of 60, we offer a $35 rate for those folks as well, and those are annual memberships. We upgrade them to anywhere picked up by Banner Air, anywhere that we fly. So at this point, I think I'd open it up to questions. Mr. Mayor, City Council, and we can kind of go through the model here, if anything you might have to add or ask us.
Question? I do have one, just to follow up what PHI had said. How about uninsured individuals?
Yeah, so as stated in our prior meeting, we do bill the uninsured. So if you have a city resident and we fly them, they will be billed at the Medicare allowable rate. I'm not sure how PHI works with their model and that messaging, because I did hear Mr. Peterson say that. As you can imagine, the highly reduced rates for an MSP at roughly what we're looking at is $12.50 per household already under the MSP. Our plan and our membership works in the manner that we bill insurance. So as you can imagine, when we fly someone that has zero insurance, there's nothing to bill against. So in that case, we will bill them at the Medicare allowable rate, which is highly reduced rate compared to what they could be billed typically. So that is the one difference between us and DHI.
Do you know what that Medicare rate is?
It fluctuates, Mayor, at the time of flight, so it's really, in essence, if you will, a sliding scale of sorts, based on the timing of the flight, etc.
Ready?
This is Councilman Rios. I posed the same question that I asked earlier about dependents, whether they're living at home or going to school.
Yeah, so in the MSPs, the new one, go ahead.
I'm sorry, that was it.
I do want to clarify that. I hope I gave it. So under the MSP, if that child is still currently has their residence with mom and dad or whoever it may be in the city limits, they are covered under the MSP.
So if they have a residence outside of their home, the parents.
They would have to have an upgrade.
So it's not based on tax, it's based on where they live.
Right.
So in both cases, we're looking for an upgrade on both services. Is that correct?
Yeah, so what I would say is.
If they held another.
Yeah, so forgive me, I can only speak to our membership, but I will tell you that ours is a little different. Ours is based upon, number one, where the child is going to college. If they're away at college, if their primary residence is in the city of Glow, they are actually covered under our MSP. It's only when they be going for undergrad scenarios where they're actually post-grad would they then be responsible. So if they're away at college and their primary residence is still listed as mom and dad's in Glow, they would be covered.
Was that Banner or PHI?
That's Banner.
That's Banner.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, I just want to add that to the people who may be watching this and not have stayed up with what we're doing, we're interviewing 2 companies because we want to have, we're considering getting memberships with both companies because somebody who has a tragic incident, they can't decide which one of these 2 companies will be there and be available to fly them. And so we're not pitting between the 2 to determine which one we're gonna pick. I think council's seeking out for the most balanced coverage, and the difference between the 2, just for our information and understanding. But again, from the beginning, we wanna do both because you just don't know which one of the 2 companies will be there based on, it's an ambulance service and it's who's available.
I think just to clarify it a little more is that if you're waiting at Cobra Valley Regional Medical Center for an interfacility, waiting on a bed in the valley, you can request a helicopter company that you have insurance with, because you have the time to do that.
Correct. So
But if you're on a medical
you
scene,
have the legal right to pick and choose your provider, that's correct, Mr. Mayor.
but if you're on an emergency scene, say a car accident or, that you need immediate flight, you don't have a choice. It's gonna be the closest helicopter available to that location.
Just for context, so.
And with those 2 here, it gives us a pretty good opportunity to be able to be flown out.
There is one more, there's Native Air also out there, but they don't do a lot of flights here, and they don't have a membership program, they have an advocacy program that works with the patient.
Mayor?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
So I'm affiliated with the hospital, so I asked at the last meeting because here I think they gave us some stats on coming out to the scene, like the emergency stuff. So I asked the hospital what the percentage of flights was, and at that time, about 80% was going PHI and about 20% was going Banner. So if that makes a difference, that's.
And that's in a facility?
Yeah, so like you're in the hospital and you're gonna need to be flown out. And that was at that time, so it could change from month to month, but I just wanted to get a feel for it because we didn't have any idea.
So Mayor, the only thing remaining, we have not run either of the contracts through Bill Sims, our city attorney, and so that's why we haven't, we don't have this up for final approval. I think that we would like to, council would probably like to make sure Bill takes a look at these and if there's anything else, we can have the conversation about switching out the counties. And then, so I think what staff is looking from council is whether you would like to move this to another, forward to another meeting. Eric, can you put up the one single point PowerPoint? And we did price in for both of them with the 3-county option for the residents for both. It's a little bit more with Banner, but the grand total is about, I think, would come out of our general fund about $50,000, and that was not budgeted, so that'd be a general fund transfer that we would do when we go for final passage. On the employee coverage, the PHI has already been budgeted, and then we have the Blue Cross Blue Shield balance that we can take that out of that is meant for health expenses for our own employees. And so that is where we're at. And so it'd be council's pleasure whether you want to stick with the proposal, which would be hiring both employee and residential with both Banner and PHI at the 3-county rate for both, and then move that forward for final passage once the once we have worked out all the details and gotten the contracts straightened out. I believe the contracts are probably pretty locked in. These are national companies. There's not a lot we're gonna be able to negotiate, but I wouldn't wanna, you know, go forward too much without Bill taking a look at it. But also, if council is ready to vote, we can motion it and approve it with, dependent upon approval of the contract by our attorney too, and do it tonight. It's your comfort level.
Fernando.
I do have one additional question, because Banner suggests that you're affiliated with Banner Healthcare Services, and I would assume that you can't give a preference, that that's gonna be based on medical need, but I need to ask, is there an incentive for you to fly people to a Banner facility versus any other facility?
No, and I believe excuse me, Mr. Council Member, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that might have been addressed in our in-person presentation where we had our Banner, our operational partner there. We're gonna fly the patient to the closest appropriate facility for that, regardless of the hospital connection from a Banner Air or Banner Health. So whatever hospital we fly to or fly from is insignificant to us.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, Mr. Mayor and City Council, there was one aspect of this that I wanted to make sure that we did advocate for. The community needs to understand what the membership is, and I know we talked about community involvement, and I know that the mayor and I spoke a little bit about making sure that our presence wasn't just felt via helicopter, but physical presence. And I want to make sure that I ensure some confidence with the city council and the mayor and the citizens of Globe that when we move forward, that my presence, my personal contact information, my ability to educate and inform the residents of their options and what they have with Banner Air and PHI, that they understand that we're there to support and we're there to provide the life. Honestly, we hope that nobody has to use it, but we know in reality that it does happen. We want to make sure that they understand what is coming their way and why we are there and why we are present. So community events, please feel free to reach out to me and invite me down so I can talk to the community, so I can educate those citizens as well a little bit more. And I know that was something that was one of the questions that was asked, but I know we kind of breezed over it just because there was other information that needed to be put forth.
Likewise.
I know, ladies and gentlemen, in the past, under the membership agreement, we have gone to strides and we've released, or we've given you press release documents. We've gone the extent of making sure that there is a membership, MSB membership card for the City of Globe residents for each person or each household, and sent those to your contacts that you have provided to us every year. We can also get involved a little more deeply with that process if you like, but we've, up to this point, we've kind of stayed out of that just because you've had pickup points for those membership cards. But there are other ways to be more effective with the distribution of those cards, whether it be a cooperating utility bill or something of that nature. It's make sure that it gets into every household, and that helps spread the awareness part of it as well.
Question for you?
Yeah, just one question. This may have been covered before, but if so, I apologize. But the employee coverage, is that just the employee or their family household as well?
As far as Banner Air goes, yeah, it's for the household as well. Every one of our memberships is household. It is not individual. So when a city employee has the membership, any person residing in their household, familiar or not, as long as that is their primary residence, they are covered.
Okay, thank you.
PHI is the same.
Perfect, thanks.
I think one other discussion point in our work group was the the coverage, I think when we come back with whatever the proposal, whatever the council decides, is that our city coverage employees that we have the extended, that we're covered statewide then. Is that the correct?
I'm trying to pull my memory banks on that. To either PHI or starting with PHI, are our employees with 3 county or employees statewide?
Kurt, I believe that the city employees are covered within the county limits.
They also have a full-term membership at that $50 rate that they purchased.
Okay, so they do have a nationwide membership. Yeah, I wasn't prepared for that, the city portion of this, so forgive me.
Yeah, no.
So Kevin, can you allude to that?
Yes, as they were mentioning, that was already budgeted and passed, so the city residents, our city, workers already have coverage anywhere we have service, so nationwide coverage.
That's PHI.
And then Adam, I don't think we had this conversation, but this is what's the range of the coverage for employees under the banner proposal?
I believe when we spoke in person, when we had the presentation, I think we had a couple of different options, and I'm gonna let Jeff touch in on that because I believe he has that information in front of him as well.
Yeah, so with the purchase of an MSP, your resident employees, meaning city employees who live within the city of Globe, are covered. If you use the pickup option of Gila County, they would have the pickup option in Gila. If we went with the other option, they would have the multiple counties, but your city resident employees are covered under the MSP. We do have the options to upgrade those city resident employees to the statewide. Now, PHI talks about a nationwide membership. Banner Air is limited to the 4 aircraft that we spoke of, in Rim Country, the Valley, etc., that we have. So we've got different options there depending on where your employees reside.
So I think that's gotta be part of our information as we make this decision. I think it was discussion in the work group that our employees should have full coverage, statewide or nationwide, whatever it is. For our residents, I think we had discussed about Gila County coverage with education, if they wanna upgrade to nationwide or something, or they should take advantage of that.
I think where we are on residential coverage, we have the 3 counties for both PHI and Banner. For PHI, for employee coverage, we have the nationwide, that is the way that works out. So then the only thing left on Banner for our employees, and there are a couple of tiers at the $8,125. What tier does that? What does that provide us with people? And this is employees who live within the city, and employees who may live in the county or Miami or something like that. So Banner, on the employee coverage, the 8125 buys us what?
So the 8125 is actually your employee plan without the MSP coverage. So, Mr. Mayor and council members, if you were to choose our MSP option with the 3 additional counties, I'm just gonna give you an all-in number here. That all-in number with those 3 additional counties, upgrading your resident employees to statewide, you're gonna be at $38,424. That's the additional pickup within 3 counties. So, Mr. City Manager, the number you're quoting there, the $8,125, is your option for employees if you were to go in a different direction and not having MSP. That would be the statewide option for all.
Okay, so the 8,125 without the MSP, and that is just 1 county only. The one that's on the screen right now.
Unfortunately, I'm not able to see your screen, so I don't know what the data is.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
The 8,125 is really insignificant unless you don't choose the municipal option. That number there is strictly an employee plan, not a resident plan. And that would cover all of your employees anywhere in the state of Arizona if picked up by Banner.
So that's a good thing.
That's the 8,000.
So
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I wanna piggyback that real quick. So essentially, the only way that we can come up with a city employee number is once the decision's made, if the MSP is picked up for Banner and PHI, or however it is set up, we would need to know how many employees for the city of Globe live under the umbrella of the MSP, because then we'd be able to put together the number of those employees that don't, which would be significantly less than the 8125 that you had stated, because they're already covered. I hope that makes sense.
So I think somebody estimated we had 65 employees outside the city, and so we would have to bump them up to the state, to the larger coverage. Anybody wants to help me, because I'm not sure if I have a good handle on this. All right.
But when you say 62 employees live outside of the city, they could live in the Gila County.
Yeah.
So they are covered there, they could live in
Well,
Claypool, they could live in.
So the ones that live in the city fall under the residential coverage, and so they have the 3 counties. And then the ones that work for the city but don't live in inside Globe proper, that's the additional expense.
Correct. For the city employee plan, the residents that do not live in the city of Globe would fall under the city employee plan. The residents of Globe would fall under the municipal site plan, which means they would already be covered, so we would not want to charge twice for the same people.
Okay. So then if we have a resident that lives in Miami, I'm sorry, an employee that lives in Miami, what's the scope of the coverage under the quota that 8,125?
So the quote of the 8,125 would drop based off of how many employees live in the city. But the scope for their coverage, for the city employees that live outside of Globe, the scope of their coverage, if I'm mistaken, but Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, it is a statewide coverage.
Okay. All right, so that's, I think.
So
I
those
understand
numbers
that.
could change.
Yeah, because the employee coverage at the Banner was thinking that we may not buy the residential, so they had to put them all in there, so it'll be adjustable, so.
That's correct. So
Yeah.
the number for the city employees, and I apologize, would be actually lower with the MSP.
Okay.
You got a question?
Yeah, maybe a recommendation, can we get this penciled out so that we can actually,
Yes.
maybe on the next go-around, so that way
Right.
we're fully informed?
Right, because the decision point tonight was whether we wanted to go with employee only or residential. So what we will have for you in 2 weeks, we will have, going with this option, we'll get the prices for all 4, and then the level of coverage for all 4. Actually, there are 5, because in the Banner employee coverage, there's coverage for the employees who fall who live in the city and employees who live outside the city.
Right.
So, yeah, we will put it all into a additional spreadsheet that I hope to make it even clearer.
Okay. I have one question. The image on our computers right now.
Yes.
On our tablets right now. Where's a copy of that? All I got is, this is all Banner helicopter.
Right, this is, I don't think I passed that out, I don't think, but
Okay.
can you see it on your screen though?
Yeah, I can see it on my screen.
Yeah, okay, we can get you a copy before we leave.
But that's gonna change
Yeah,
anyway.
That's gonna
It would
change.
be nice if the 2 people that are on that screen could get a copy as well.
Okay,
Sure.
yeah, and then alls I did was pull from the spreadsheets you had submitted and combine them. But, I was not aware that you couldn't see the Zoom, when we share the Zoom, that you couldn't see that. I was thinking, is this how we're doing this? I mean, when you share Zoom? Or I think we're doing a different technology. Can,
It's all right.
yeah.
It's about a quarter of an inch by an inch for us.
Technology is our best friend and our worst enemy
Yeah.
at the same time.
Well, you know, I'll have to go from 11-point type to 12-point type. All right.
You want us to share screen now, or do you?
No.
Yeah, we can just
No,
move
I
it
think
forward.
I think we have direction, I think,
Yeah,
and
let's
so
move
if you wanna, if you want a motion to bring this back for final approval, with a clarifying, spreadsheet that shows the cost and the coverage of each as a final amount we will be approving.
For employees only and residential.
Yeah,
We need
yes,
both, yeah.
and that is the decision point that I wanted to accomplish tonight.
Okay.
So moved.
That was,
You got a question?
no, I'd like to make a motion.
Oh, okay,
He already did.
go ahead.
Has the motion been made?
Mike did.
Did-
You did?
Based on what?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we move this to the next available meeting with a more detailed spreadsheet showing the cost for employee and residents as well,
Second.
And the coverage.
and the coverage.
Yeah, the coverage.
Second.
Motion second to move this item forward to the next available meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Thank you, PHI and Jeff, Adam, and,
Yep, thank you.
Appreciate it,
Chris.
thank you both, or thank
Thank
you
you,
all.
Mr. Mayor, thank you, City Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I wonderful.
so we go to call the public, our second call to the public. Do you have anybody online?
Do you have the phone? And, Mr. Mayor, we have, I think, one text that we got, let me check the, mail, and, yes, we did, okay, so, this is from, a phone number, I don't see any name, it's a 928 area code, it says, I would, like to give thanks to the workers that were out here on the old highway in regards to the water line break and question whether or not there's any plans in the future to upgrade this line that has been discussed for years. And this is call the public, so we can text back that, that the situation and our current funding and our current scope that we have for this bridge already planned out. I'm sorry, for the water line planned out. So I will respond at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
And then it says to council, no, this is separate from email. Old bridge removal, question, George. Okay. And, I believe they're probably referring to, the old Connie's Bridge that, must be taken down because we can't add any additional, railroad crossings. We have to keep the number of railroad crossings the same, but I'll respond to that
Okay,
also.
that's it?
Yes,
Okay. We already did late agenda item, scheduling the meetings.
nothing to report there.
Are we gonna discuss, well, it'll probably be next meeting, the end of August, is the same, well, it's a League of Cities.
Mayor, I haven't looked at those.
Yeah, it'll be our last
Conflicts.
meeting, the League of Cities
Yeah.
conference.
When is the league?
The last week in August.
Last week in August, okay.
Yeah, I think
Let me
Shirley
hear
was
the-
working on all that.
Yeah. Hang on, let me just real quick take a look and,
It's August 30th.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
so we,
August 27th through the 30th.
yeah, it starts the day of the 27th, so, we may have to do some, adjusting there.
Okay,
Okay, but I don't have a date, and I don't wanna try to figure one out tonight.
okay. Any future agenda items from anybody?
No.
Motion to go into E-session?
Motion made.
Second.
Motion second to go into executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
No further business after return from E-session.
Thank you on Zoom land and thank you for attending. Come to our bash.